We're doing a complete strip down of my Ratcatcher today. These are the tools I'll be using. I don't need many. I've got a few Allen keys and a screwdriver, and there's a few other things there just in case. Right, so this is my Ratcatcher. As you can see, it's not completely standard, but it doesn't make much of a difference because they're all pretty much the same. Ratcatchers, the 2240 pistols, very similar. Right, so I'll start off with just taking off the attachments I've got here. First of all, just to get these out of the way. That's off. Okay, so as you can see, I have custom bolts in my gun. So these are Allen screws. They're not actually the originals that came with the gun now. With the original, the original screws in the stock, they're safety screws. So they are hard. Well, they're very, very, very hard to get out with a normal screwdriver. To be honest with you, it's very hard to get them out of the gun without damaging the stock. I found the best way of doing it is use an impact driver with a flat bit, push down a lot of pressure on the stock, don't forget to set it to reverse, and literally as you're pushing down, hold on the trigger and it's nice and slowly and it'll come out. Don't do it too quickly because you might end up tearing the plastic on the gun. Right, so obviously do so at your own risk. If you damage your gun, don't blame me. Right, so I'll just take off the stock to get out of the way. So easy that was with a Allen key. Suggest you buy some, about £10 from GMAC Custom Parts. I'll put a link in the description. As you can see, I've got a little tin there, just to keep all the parts together. And that's my custom stock. That's a basic plastic stock that I've covered in camo tape. Now I've sprayed with a layer of lacquer just to make it nice and solid. Let's get the foregrip off the front. Need a standard screwdriver to do this. Mine's a little bit harder because I've got this custom job on it, which makes them stick a little bit more. That's just my problem. A lot stiffer than your average stock, believe me. It's not normally this stiff on normal ones, it's just mine's got the actual layers on it. Right, so let's get this off the front because it's the easiest thing to take off for the time being. Slide that off. Okay, I forgot to mention safety feature. Make sure the gun hasn't got any gas in it before you start. I should have said this at the beginning, but I forgot. As you can see, that's just the silver, version of the original. Right, so to get the grip off of the main tube, all you need is a screwdriver. Normally a screwdriver. Yeah, it's normally a screwdriver. So I've got the custom bolts, so it means I just got to use an Allen key, which is much nicer than trying to use the screwdriver because it's not a very, very convenient spot to be taking these off. So yeah, so take this bolt out here. This one's quite easy to get out, to be honest. Only a few turns and it's out. Put that in the pot. Can't stress enough how much you need one of those little pots. Anything just to keep your bits, because it's so easy to lose the parts of these guns. You don't want to lose them. Right, so when you're taking this apart, always remember, because I've just been reminded, there's a ball bearing and a spring inside this this grip housing, and it's I'll show you how big it is in a sec. Put that down there for a second. Put that down there for a sec. So I've taken off the 2 screws at the end here. This comes off the main tube by there. Like what I mentioned earlier, this is the spring. Got to be very careful. Put it down right here so you can zoom into that. And also the ball bearing as well. This is so easy to lose. You can't even buy these anywhere, I don't think. I wouldn't know where to buy one of these unless you went onto a Crosman website. So have a look at that. Zoom into that. If you compare it next to my barrel band there, you can see how small it is. And it's very easy to lose. I've lost it twice. Luckily managed to find it. This here is for the safety then. So this makes the safety click in and out of place pretty much. Right, so anyway, put that there for 2 seconds. Right, so now you're left with the barrel, breech and the main tube. You might notice that my breech is different to yours. I've got a custom breech on it. It comes off exactly the same as your breech. Same again with the back. That is a power adjuster. This comes off the same as the back end cap of any Crosman gun. Mine just is there just for moderating the power on the gun when I'm out shooting. So I'll start off by taking off the well, I'll take the back out there actually to make it easier for this. You won't need to do this if you haven't got a power adjuster, but it's easier for me just to do it for the time being. So I just undo this bolt here. This is actually a screw on the original, but I've got the updated, well, the better quality bolts for it, so I'll just pop that in there. Pull that back. If you look inside here, there's a little Allen key bolt in here that you need to take out. You've got to be very careful because it's very easy to round off the thread. I've actually bought a screw bolt for mine because of that exact problem. I don't want to round it off and have it stuck in there forever. If you're going to do it, make sure you're very careful when you're taking it out. Otherwise you'll be regretting it. You'll be drilling out a little tiny hole. Again. Right, so when you take off your end cap, it'll look like that. Pretty much, but it won't be brass. And obviously this here will just slide out the back as well from here, like so, okay. So, on the plastic breech you haven't got one of these, okay, because this comes with the custom steel breech, okay, so this won't affect you if you haven't got one of these. I do suggest buying a steel breech though, because they are better quality. Right, so now we have the breech. Right, on your breeches, you won't need to do this, but I've got to unscrew the unscrew the grip screws to get the barrel off of my breech. So I'll just do that quickly. And then you can just literally slide the barrel out like so. So you're left with the barrel. Okay, this here is the main housing. As you can see, there's white stuff all over mine. That is silicone sealant. I do this as a mod for my gun because I've got the metal breech. I find that the seal isn't very good, so me and my brother have both started putting sealant inside, let it set, and then we put the breech back on top. It provides a really good seal. The reason I'm stripping it today is because the seal is actually blown out the side over time, so I've got to reseal it pretty much. Right, what I'll do now, I'll just quickly take out the hammer. On this it's very simple. You slide to the back by here. You zoom in? Yeah. You pull this little pin out, like so. Just put that in the tin over there, and you slide that out there. And that's that simple. And for the sake of getting out the valve, just need a little screwdriver. Just unscrew it like so. Put that in there, and pop it, and it'll come out. This here is what pretty much regulates the gas going into your gun. When you put your gas inside the gun here, the bulb that you pop in sits there. It pierces onto there. When you cock the gun back using the bolt, it loads the hammer spring. When you pull the trigger, it shoots forward, hits that, it releases the gas out the top of there into the barrel chamber and projects the bullet out the end. It's really simple, but really effective at the same time. One of the best guns I've ever owned. Right, anyway, let's pop this all back over here. Okay, so I'll be putting the gun back together in a second. I'm going to take the grip housing apart. It's really simple. There's only 3 little Allen keys in there. Yours will probably be black. Mine is silver, but they're the same size. So let's get this. They'll be quite stiff, so be careful that you don't round off the heads, because if you get them stuck in there, you're pretty much stuck to keeping your standard trigger and your standard safety bolt, because you can only change it by taking this apart. Right. I've actually loosened these already before I started filming to save any complications. This one's a little bit tight. Right, so if you take this off here, it's just a little plastic panel. You have the safety. You can buy aftermarket safeties, brass ones, but this is just the standard one. This is a custom trigger, just smaller, and you can see how simple the trigger mechanism. You can see how simple the trigger mechanism is. That's the standard trigger there. If you look down here, it's literally that simple. Oh, this come apart, but don't worry. So let's quickly put this back together so we can get the gun back into one piece. Don't forget to put the safety bolt back in, because I nearly did. Here we are, it's all back together, as you can see. Obviously you've got to be careful that this doesn't fall out, but back to normal. It's that simple. Well then guys, this is the Ratcatcher completely stripped down. As you can see, I've put it in order as to what it should be as we're putting it back together. It won't be going back in this order, but it just gives you an idea as to what it looks like with all the bits and bobs. This is I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys to see as to where the bolts and the screws go, etc, etc. One thing I've already done, the reason why I took this apart in the first place was to put some extra sealant on the tube. I've done another video and put that on there already today about that. If you're interested, have a little look. But because I've done this, I've already put the valve back in there, which literally screws in on the bottom, but make sure you don't put it in upside down. It is easy to mistake if you're not paying attention, but yeah, so that's already in, because I've got the seal in there with a bit of silicone sealant on top, just to make it a bit stronger, basically, stop it from firing at the end of the barrel. Yeah, so what we'll do then, first of all, let me just get the spring and the ball bearing for the safety. As you can see, the little ones we hid before in the tin to stop us from losing it. We're going to try and put these back into the gun. So first of all, Just put your safety in the middle, just so you know where it's going. Right, so take the ball bearing, pop it back in. Don't drop it on the floor because you will have a nightmare trying to find it. Right, so that's back in there. Right, so now we need to get the main tube back on. So just put this down carefully. Right, so this is the main tube. We need to put this back in. So we take this and slide it into there. Line up the hole with the back of the tube there, and as you can see, you can slot that, the little, what would that be?
Hammer pin.
Yeah, the hammer pin. Yeah, so you can line up the hammer pin so it slots right back into there, and as you can see, it'll slide forward and it won't come out. Nice and solid. Right, you need to get your end cap or power adjuster, depending on what you've got. Either way, they've still got two holes like this on either side. Here comes the fiddly bit now. This is where the fun and games begin. But these guns aren't hard to put back together. It can just be a bit fiddly. You know, you just take a bit of patience, but you'll be alright. Right. I find putting the actual the bolt in the Allen key ready to do this the easiest way of doing it. You have to be patient with this, don't rush it because you will end up dropping it all on the floor. Right, so you got to just line this up nice. Once you've got this one screw back in here, you'll find that you know, it will come together a lot smoother, but for the time being, just get that one screw back in. Let's put the front Allen key bolt back in the front with the adapter there. That holds the front grip onto the gun. Just quickly get that back in. Come on. Alright, one thing I will note with these now, if you look, you've got to be careful when you're putting the back bolt back in, because sometimes if you put it in too tight, you'll find that you can't fit the other bolt back in the front. Right, bear with me. So just adjust the back slightly, make it loose, gives you a chance to get this one in. There we are. Nice and tight on the front then, and just do the back up to make sure that's nice and tight. Lovely, so that's in. So we now have tube back onto the trigger, got the safety working again, as you can see, power adjusters on the back. So now it's just a case of fitting on the steel breech next. Right. So here you have your breech. I've already pre-screwed the grub screws ready to get the barrel back in. So what we need to do now, if you've got a metal breech like me, you need to put this back in. If you've got a plastic one, you don't, but either way it's pretty straightforward. Line up the breech on the back. Right, so yeah. With a plastic breech, make sure when you put this in that the rear of the probe is sitting in front of the hammer spring in there, okay? Hammer pin, sorry, in front of the hammer pin. Right, so what we need to do now is just bolt the top back on. This should be relatively straightforward now though, now that we've got that one. That's on there. Right, now we get the fiddly bit of putting the the breech screw back in there. Now, for most of you, you'll probably have an Allen key bolt, so take care when you're putting this back in. I've just got the slotted breech screw. Bought this from one GMAT Custom Parts. Makes it a lot easier getting this back in. Okay. Take a screwdriver and just be gentle with it. Don't force it in, because you'll end up ruining the thread on your tube, and then you'll end up having to buy a new tube. So careful when you're doing that. Right, so let's get the barrel back in. So I've slotted the barrel in ready. Just tighten up the grub screws. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. And we'll get the barrel band back on there. Careful when you're putting it down the barrel so you don't scratch it. So now we can just go ahead and put the foregrip back on the gun. Put it on like that. It screws right there. Nice and tight. Go ahead and put the stock back on that. There we go. I suggest you buy some of these Allen key bolts for your stock. Makes life a lot easier for you than trying to get those stupid Crosman safety bolts off. It's ironic that they make a gun that's so moddable, but then they try and stop you from taking off your stock, which is pretty silly, but oh well. Well, I just need to put my spring back in. Obviously don't forget to do this when you put the gun back together. Well, I can do it because I've got a power adjuster. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Guns back together. Lovely. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. There's going to be more videos coming soon, so yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.